Hi everyone, this is Sherry. And I'm going to take you for a walk through the Roseland Woods and just like a walk and talk, and probably talk about some of the life design stuff. So here goes. As far as life design, so I'm launching my channel. I'll be putting up a couple videos in the next week, and mostly it's about learning how to follow breadcrumbs. And when I say breadcrumbs, what I mean is hints and clues of information that people give you. The way it works for me is like I'm in a quandary about something, or I'm not sure which direction I want to go, or I'm considering doing something, and then I decide, well, maybe I'll talk to one of my friends. And then I talked to one of my friends about, at one point I wanted to, several times I wanted to live in an eco-village, and my son, when he was 15, I told him I really wanted to move to this eco-village in Boonville. And he said, "Mom, I'm 15. If I move to the eco-village with you, that's like, for someone my age, that's like social suicide. There's only like 4 other, there might be 1 or 2 teenagers there, and I would be like the 3rd teenager." He said, "Mom, I can't do it." So I was like, okay, then that's fine. I'll just wait till you grow up a little more, and then I'll go live in an eco-village. And so this is what happened. So I was talking to my friend Jim, and he said, I told him, this was several years later after the conversation with my son, but I said, I really want to live in an eco-village, and I'm so into like land-based living and the gardens and all the community stuff going on. And so I was talking to my friend Jim about it, and he said, they're gonna want to know what you bring. And I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, they're gonna want to know what skills you have. Like, how are you gonna contribute to the community? Like, what do you bring with you when you come? And I was like, oh, okay. Wow, okay, so those were breadcrumbs. He told me, because this is a person who had been living in an eco-village for 5 years now, and he said, yeah, you're going to want to know your skills. And so I started thinking about it, and I went, well, okay, then I'm going to go to herb school. I just decided that. I already had been thinking about it anyway. And so I thought, okay, so during the courtship period of my time of this is beginning to know the community there, I was in herb school. And, they wanted me initially to write a letter saying what my reason is for wanting to live in community, and why, what all my whys were, and what did I think that I could bring to the community. So I did. I wrote a letter, and it encompassed all those things, all the things that I knew how to do. I am a cook. I could make lots of Thai food. I could sew. I could garden. I'm an epic gardener, not to brag, but I've done so much training around that, and even in design, and all the way from, taking a few classes at the JC, just enough to get on a cover letter that I could send to clients and stuff. And then from there, it just grew and grew. I just kept taking classes, and I kept learning more and more. And anyway, it grew into a thriving business. So that was a segue I wasn't going to go down, but back to the eco village. So I did end up getting accepted into the eco village community, and at that time I think I was like 45 or 46, and I just loved it. I mean, we had so many activities going on all the time, and things that you could get involved in. Okay, this weekend we are making, anybody who wants to make blackberry jam, we're going to be making blackberry jam. And, you know, meet at the barn at 10 o'clock. Or we're making sauerkraut, or all kinds of stuff. And, you know, people offering free classes. I'm going to do yoga in the barn at 10 o'clock if anyone wants to come up. Gifting to the community, things like that. And we had a stellar barn there too. It was so awesome. And then when they built the second floor on it, was really great because we could have big shindigs there and stuff. So it was fun. I love living in community. It was really great. Yeah, so that was good. So my friend Jim gave me those breadcrumbs, saying, well, if you want to live in community, this is what they're going to want. They're going to want to know what you can do, what you can bring, how you and why you want to live in community. And so I thought about all those things, and when I wrote my letter, it was all in there, you know, what I could do, how I could contribute, and that I was in a herb school, which is another, was going to be another story. But so the conversation with my friend Jim led me to consider going to herb school again, because I'd been thinking about it for a while. And so I did go to herb school, the Forestville School of Herbal Studies, that was founded by Rosemary Gladstar, and it was great. So I did 2 years at herb school, and in my first year, when my teacher Terry, so we were all sitting around eating lunch, and she found out somehow that I was a permaculture designer, and she said, hey, do you think you could come and teach at the Women's Herbal Symposium? Teach about permaculture, and also a hypnotherapist too. So I was like, okay, yeah. And she said, yeah, could you do a guided meditation, you know, for the people that are just arriving, to help them kind of settle in and get grounded, and, you know, with all the packing and organizing you have to do to get to the symposium, you know, setting up a campground, packing before you leave, and all those different things is, and then if you're a teacher, then you even have even more that you've got to bring, your teaching materials and your stuff that you're preparing for the learning part. And so anyway, so that was so my friend Jim led me the breadcrumbs to go to the eco village, just to wrap this all up into a circle so you can see how the breadcrumbs work. And then my teacher Terry at herb school said, hey, do you think you could come and teach at herb school? And I said, sure, I could do that, you know. And it's kind of nice because as a teacher you don't have to pay. You get to be involved in the whole 3 or 4 day herb school, which is like a whole bunch of different teachers. There's tons of breakout sessions and lots going on, and everything from dyeing plants to making kefir, and, you know, making dream catchers, and learning lots about herbalism, that's for sure. So yeah, so that was good, and I have got to add all that stuff into my bio and update all that information. So one thing about being in any kind of business is that you're always creating and building on the foundation of what you already have. And so you're always adding more classes, getting involved in more engagement type opportunities, and continuing to create content. Like I had a conversation with my sister. So she said, because I've been in landscaping for 32 years now, or 33 years, and she said, during the time we had this conversation, I think it was like 2016, something like that, and she said, well, I would never hire anybody who didn't have a website. And I was like, oh, that was a breadcrumb. It wasn't a trail of breadcrumbs, but it was a breadcrumb, and I thought, oh, maybe it's time for me to build a website. So I decided to take this WordPress class at the JC and went ahead and built a website. So I had tons of business collateral already because I had been in business for 15 years with my landscaping. And so I had documentation, I had cover letters, I had folders full of plant lists for every kind of type of situation you could want: native plants, arid plants, gopher-proof gardens, deer-proof gardens, I mean, you name it. So, because you're always building that, always continually building your business collateral. And so, yeah, so I built that website, and I actually just updated it this weekend after 15 years of it, 30 years later or whatever. I updated it and added a page that is that offers international house sitting, because another story, when my friends, I have some friends that are international house sitters. They have a website called joyfuljourneying.com if you want to check them out, Lori and Neil. And they have all kinds of tips on their website about, like, how to handle your cell phone situation when you get to another country, or just really useful information. Anyway, so they've traveled all over, and I myself have been to Guatemala like, I don't know, 3 or 4 times now. Well, so I get a call from my friend Lori, and she says, we want to go to Guatemala, so we want to come over and we want to pick your brain. And I'm like, okay, sounds good, come on over. So they came over, and they were in town because they're usually, traveling somewhere. They came over, and they said, we want to know everything about Guatemala. So we spent the afternoon talking about Guatemala and, Lake Adelon and Chichicastenango and all the great places that you can go to, and all the great things that you can do, all the mercados, and the avocados are gigantic, and just all this stuff. So I said, well, I'm actually about due for a trip to Guatemala. It's been 3 years, so I said, maybe we can meet up there. And so we decided to do that. And during that meetup in Guatemala, I asked them if they would show me how to get set up for house sitting. And so they said, yeah, we could probably, Lori's like, we could probably do that. Actually, think about it. So then the next day when I was over there, she's like, okay, we're going to help you set up your site and everything. So that was awesome, because they totally showed me how to do all of it. And that was better than breadcrumbs. It was epic. I don't know what else to call it, but it was really great. And so ever since then, and that was that was probably in 2017. Ever since then, I have been house sitting around California. And it's great because I travel. I mostly like to travel to beach towns. And I go, to like the Solano area of Berkeley, which is a great little spot. And I try to get a house sit in that area, or, some area that I already know about. And, sometimes I'm taking care of a kitty or a couple kitties, and sometimes I'm taking care of a little dog. And I got a full kitchen, I got full lodging, and it's a mutually beneficial relationship because the person's going on a trip, they've got these animals, they want to know that they're going to be taken care of well, and all that. So, yeah, so that was that was definitely breadcrumbs from Lori and Neil, big breadcrumbs that I'm still, every day, not every day, sorry, let's see, every summer through fall, I try to get a couple of house sits in. So, that's really great. One time my son actually referred me to some doctors where he worked that needed house sitting too, and that was like an ongoing situation for quite a while, so that worked out great. There's just so much. And all these things really are based in my interests. Almost every single thing I did was based in things that I was interested in from the get-go, from the beginning, from the time that I started my landscaping business, or from the time I decided to leave my corporate job, which will be another video. I just, have been following breadcrumbs. And really it wasn't until recently, very recently, that I realized that I'd been doing this for a very long time. And then once I realized that, I was like, oh, I realized it because I was actually making a timeline of my life because I wanted to have something on paper that showed chronologically main events in my life. So, just as a point of reference, I am now 66 years old. The first time I followed breadcrumbs was in 1979. Right out of high school, I took a few GE classes at the JC and decided not to go into nursing, which was going to be my plan. But I just decided, man, I'm ready now to really make something happen. So anyway, from that time all the way up to now, I've been following breadcrumbs. And it wasn't until I started tracking through this timeline that I made of major life events like my marriages, the birth of my children, major transitions in my life, when I got into corporate America, when I left corporate America, when I started my business, all these little high points, or, significant moments, I guess I could call them, were pivotal and necessary, and some of those involved very difficult decisions. Like trying to leave corporate America. I love my job. I was so good at it, and I loved it, and the environment, I thrived in it, and I was continually promoted and given raises because of projects I'd done, and these seamless projects, software installations that just went off without a glitch, that just, and I learned so much there, actually what I learned there the most, and what has contributed the most to my life, is how to create, really. How to create, because how to create what you want, really, because I picked and chose which positions I would accept when I was at that company, and I kept myself on a steady trajectory of learning. All my life I have been a lifelong learner, and I may even be a cultural creative. I don't know, I have to look that up again, but I see opportunities in, I don't know how I learned to see opportunities when it's not as easy for other people, but I position myself, and I'm in the right place at the right time frequently. So anyway, what a learning experience this has all been in my life. And I would like to show you all how to follow breadcrumbs, because you'll go far and long, because once you start to recognize breadcrumbs when they're presented to you, you will start pivoting and once you're on that path, you're going to be a loyal breadcrumb follower. Okay. Okay, you guys and guys, I am signing out for today. And this video, I'm thinking I'm probably going to post it in the next few days. My first video will be posted, and this one too. And I'm not really into editing, so it might be a little rough. Okay. Bye. Sherry signing out.